I'm excited to be on here with you all to see what you know about some Black history, and so that because Black history has become my love, my passion, and in some respects my ministry. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about what I mean in terms of what I do, in to get the what I like to call good Black history out there. I'm Anthony Brogdon. I see my name under the thing. Yeah, it's cool. This is my first recording going live. I have a show on YouTube called Strong Inspirations, which I've been doing for over 3 years, and it'll be 4 years this coming January, and it's over 500 videos on broadcast. And I interview people around the world for them to share Black history stories. And I got them from Africa, from different countries in Africa, from Nova Scotia, Canada, different provinces in Canada. I got them in not Australia, Australia. I got them in England, like Scotland. I interviewed a guy. I interviewed Frederick Douglass's great grandson, two-time great grandson, Madam C.D. Walker's uh, great granddaughter, Ida B. Wells, two-time great grandson. So I, invite you to go to Strong Inspirations to see what I'm doing there, as I find these people from around the world and throughout the U.S. and the Caribbean to allow them to share uh, what they know, either personal stories, something that they have written a book about and done research in regards to, like college professors. Um, when I say personal stories, I'm talking about stories like, for example, I interviewed a guy who found out that his great grandfather was almost lynched. And his grandfather told him, personal account. And he tells the story of what his grandfather told him. Or another gentleman who stumbled across the information that his great great grandfather was an enslaver on the island of Jamaica and Trinidad Tobago's. And so it's so many more of those. And we also talk about wellness on the show, which is where this will end up being the telecast here on Strong Inspirations. And let me tell you a little bit more about myself. I'm based out of Detroit, Michigan. I'm a graduate of a majority white institution, Oakland University, which isn't too far from Detroit. I went to school for accounting. That didn't last long. I ended up, I did work in the field, but I ended up going into self-employment, and in particular into the arts was my first entree, working with painters. We did T-shirts with their artwork. I commissioned artists to do paintings. I wrote a couple books back in the day about business. That led into me becoming an importer of merchandise, logo merchandise for the music industry in New York and throughout the country, but also for various organizations and companies, some Fortune 500 companies that became clients of mine. Did that for a number of years. And then from there, I decided just had enough of looking in catalogs for things like ink pens and briefcases, and always had this knack for writing. And I wrote a stage play titled Foot Soldiers. That led me to want to go into the film industry. And so I then did a a movie called, I did I did a movie called, this is all some years ago. I'm an older guy. A movie called The Great Detroit. It's a documentary that came out in 2014. And then from that documentary, which I showed to a number of different venues around the metropolitan Detroit area, and including Toronto, Canada, that led into doing another documentary, which is titled Business in the Black. Matter of fact, this is the DVD for that documentary, everybody. And matter of fact, yo, check it out. This is the DVD for the Great Detroit documentary. Both of them are streaming on Amazon because people usually don't have DVD players anymore, so it's the streaming service that you can watch it. So it is both on Amazon. This one here, this Business in the Black, I took it to over 40 cities across America on my own dime. Didn't have a sponsor, so on and so forth. I love traveling, and I even set up the schedule myself. And I went as far as probably Seattle, Washington. I had a show there. I did a tour through California. Flew into Sacramento, had a show in there. Took the train down to San Francisco. Flew from San Francisco to San Diego. Then I took the train from San Diego to LA. And I had showings in all those cities. So that was about maybe a 10-day tour. I did a tour through Alabama with this film. And yeah, it was funny. I kind of felt like Johnny Appleseed, spewing this knowledge everywhere I went, sharing this with people, in particular, these amazing stories that I had. I just don't think I was taught. I don't know. I was a pretty good student in school. And so maybe it slipped up on me and just did not know, didn't do the research, wasn't really a lover of Black history, let's say, back in the day. But I loved doing things with Black people and in supporting Black business in particular, because I was a self-employed business person. One of the things that I did that I failed to mention is that I had my own Black business association here in Detroit. It was called Business in the Black. That operated for probably about a year and a half. We had a newsletter titled Business in the Black. And the unique thing of the newsletter is that I would give a question of the month. We did it on a monthly basis. And like, for example, one of the questions was, do Black people support one another? Uh, what does it feel like to be a business owner? How to get started in business. And so we did that every month. And then I would go around and interview people to ask them to respond to the question of the day. And we sold advertisement in it. And then we also had our own networking event, which we call Third Thursday. And we would have it at very nice places. And some of them were really quite well attended. Of let's call it really heavyweight people in Detroit that we would honor. And because of their name recognition and just over time, more and more people would come and really look forward to our Third Thursdays. And so, that's back in the day. That's probably 1995, 6 when I was doing that. In 1998, I think it is, forget me on the dates, I hosted a Black History Month event at this Black college called Lewis Business College. And what I did was I found some of the business owners, older gentlemen in particular. It was one lady I remember who they were in their 60s at the time. They had been operating in business probably as early as the 1950s. One of them, a gentleman owned a hotel. One of them owned ice cream and pharmacy stores. Another owned a florist. Another was considered the first Black, or is considered the first Black car dealer in America, new car dealer in America. There was a printer. There was a guy who owned several nightclubs. And I must admit they're all deceased now. And so I put this panel program together at Lewis Business College, and it was packed. Oh man, and like I say, it's little old me just coming up with these ideas because I love to support Black business, and in particular now more so, I like the Black history business component, and so I did that event, and yeah, like I say, it was standing room only, and I recorded it, but didn't think I was going to be a filmmaker, and didn't know what I was professionally doing with the recording, so it was a little sketchy, so on and so forth. But nonetheless, 20 years later, I ran across that recording. Uh, I knew I had the tape, but and I would look at it every so often. And I ran across it, and I said to myself, "Man, there's something I can do with this." And so that led me to do this here, the second documentary, "The Business in the Black." I couldn't use any of that footage, so I had to start from scratch when I did that. But I knew that there had to be, if these gentlemen were operating in the 50s, what happened earlier than that? And I started doing some research. And lo and behold, I found out that, and went back as far as back in the 1800s, there were enslaved Black people who owned business. Oh my God, I was completely blown away. I was never taught that, and it's amazing that no one ever said that. When we talk about Black history, so often we talk about the Frederick Douglasses, the Martin Luther Kings, the Malcolm X, Ida B. Wells. I mean, some of those more common names, and we can go with names a little lesser known than those. But we don't talk about, and the other thing about it is when we talk about it, it's usually from the standpoint of what the white man has done to us and how we've tried to combat those actions. And some of it is some success stories, because of what happened from the marches and the progress that is made. And we can see that progress today. People always ask me, well, how far have we come? Well, we had a Black guy that was the president of America. And as I record this show, we got a lady, a Black lady. You can say what you want, Indian in her, or, biracial. Still, she's a sister. No question about it. And she says that is the front runner to become the 47th president. Not a white lady, but a Black lady before that will be the president of the United States of America. And I don't try to get too political. She got my vote. Oh, there's no question. I'm highly impressed with her. I like the things that she said out the box. But I say all that to say, when you talk about the progress that we've made, oh, it's so evident. And the beautiful homes that we live in, which we couldn't live in once before. I'll give you an example of what I might call some progress. When I had a showing of my film Business in the Black in Birmingham, Alabama, I had it, and I didn't do it. I was invited on this occasion. Uh, it was at a hotel, and I can't pronounce the name of the hotel. It's not a Hyatt or any of those name brands, but it is one of the larger hotels that is a independent that's in Birmingham. Probably been there, 60, 70 years, upscale. Black people couldn't go in the front door back in the day. The only thing they could do would be the housemaids and the guy, the valets and things of that sort. And it's well documented at this hotel. Well, they had me in the main ballroom, packed house. I would say there's probably about 175 people there. Yeah, and they had dinner for the people. And they had me showing that film, Business in the Black. But the thing, when you talk about how far we come, not just that they allowed me to show the film and the Black organization to host me in that, but the guy who ran the hotel, the bar, the main dining area was a Black guy. He had subleased this opportunity from the hotel. first class, what have you. That's an example of how far we've come. And some of the CEOs that we've had over the years, so on and so forth, in Fortune 500 companies. I got a classmate of mine. I went to a high school, here in Detroit. I had a classmate of mine. From what I gather, she's a few years younger, who has been the CEO at Walmart. Black lady. And there's so many more examples of those. We've been senators, we've been governors. Now, that also happened when we talk about the political realm back during the Reconstruction period. Yeah, that some people have told me that was the best period in Black America for a short while. More Black people learned how to read and write during the Reconstruction period and were in political office, not more than they are now, but the explosion of what happened during that, let's say, 7 years, and that's under the time frame is under dispute only because when the Northern troops came through during the Civil War and they liberated the Black people, and that started in, let's say, 1862, those Black people, that was their Reconstruction. That was them doing for themselves and making a way for themselves. And so we don't have to just say 1865, but we all say that because that's when it was noted that uh, slavery in America, because of Juneteenth and what had happened after Juneteenth, it was, let's say, noted that we were free. But prior to that, in the 1862s, when them Northern troops came through and freed those brothers and sisters, and the enslavers ran from their property, we took over. We took over. So it's been a long history of what I like to use this term, good Black history. And when we talk more here on the show, because let me tell you, I'm doing this for the next 3 Mondays. Come on, everybody, tell your high school and young adults to come on this show. The Zoom link is the same for every show at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because I'm in Detroit, which is the same time as New York. If that gives you some frame of reference, we're 1 hour ahead of Chicago. I think we're 2 hours ahead, 2 hours ahead of Texas and that region, and we're 3 hours ahead, not ahead of California. So, set your dials to come and see me during this time. And I do this because I want to hear what you know. I can share a ton of stuff that is based out of my film. And what I did not tell you, and I know I'm jumping around because I don't write no script. I want to let this thing free flow. We just talk among ourselves. We do dialogue. I want to hear what you know. So the other thing I didn't say, and this makes me, I don't know, somewhat of an expert. I wrote a book about it based on that film, the documentary Business in the Black. It's titled Black Business Book. This is it. And there have been many people who have said to me in various messages that it is America's #1 Black business history book. There are other books out there that talk about successful Black people. Not one that has 30 enslaved Black business owners who use their money to buy their freedom. Not one that has another 200 other Black business owners from the 1800s to 1960. Not another one that tells you how slaves and all the ways that they got their freedom. And I'm a little torn when I say slaves, because slave is a noun. Those people didn't feel that they were slaves. That was a title placed upon them. Many of them, and all of them, felt they were greater than that. Now, there were some brainwashing that they did, pitting one section of black people against another, maybe those who lived in the house compared to those who worked in the field, those who were lighter complected compared to those who were darker complected. Yeah, that was a mind game that they played on us. And sure enough, you get that told to you enough times, you getting to buy into it, and that's understandable. You the other thing that we're going to talk about on here is the things that they told us, Black history wise, that are just completely false. Voodoo is not something that is some devil worshiping and so on and so forth. It's Black folks' medical remedies using the herbs from the ground, the plants, the spices, some techniques to cure themselves and others. And I was told there's a story that there was a white guy that was in trouble. This is, probably back in the 1800s down in Louisiana, and had faced court dates and stuff like that. And he went to the Black lady who was, let's call her the voodoo priestess, and asked her, could she help him put a spell or something like that to relieve him of his pending court date, and so on and so forth. And whatever she did, I guess kind of swayed the judges, I don't know, but was found innocent in his court date. Oh, look like we got a person signing on here. This thing is going to grow. It's no question. Uh, Black business book is the book, and Business in the Black, strong inspirations. Let me also tell you, give you a little tidbit. Strong inspiration. The word strong is my favorite word. You'll hear me use that term a lot. I use it every time on my show. I don't know what he was doing, but evidently he found out about it and decided he wanted to come on. Because eventually we're gonna get to him and his buddies, and we're gonna share some stuff there. And this show is to motivate. That's what we're gonna do here. We're gonna motivate. Some of the young adults who have been told the mistruths about Black people, who feel differently towards Black people. When you hear some of the history that we're gonna talk about here, I'm learning how to do the technical thing too. Because he came on, but it looked like he was rolling the joint, didn't it, everybody? I don't know what that was to do. Yeah, that wasn't a good look. We're going to get to him. Watch. He'll be back on here. He took the time to come on today. Yeah. Yeah, this is what we're going to do here every Monday in August. And we'll probably come back on later in the year once school is kind of get settled and so on and so forth. And I know we're going to do it in February because you got to reach the young people and let them know about the good Black history and how we got to appreciate one another. That's the other thing. When you know some history about yourselves and about your ancestors, how great the greatness, the kings and queens we come from, I'm gonna have some people come on here and tell us about even our African roots, which is a little bit beyond what I know. I'll be perfectly honest. I just deal with what happened in America from a Black business standpoint. But we're gonna have that happen here too. Let's talk about our African roots, how we ran the world during the time of the Moors. Yeah, let me give you an example of how they talk about us, and they slight the story on us and so on and so forth. You ever heard of the dark continent? How come Africa is the dark continent? That makes no sense. The dark years. I know I'm not saying that right. It was the time period when the Moors ran the world, like Muslims, Italy and Europe. They did it for centuries. And I'm sure they didn't have the strife that when they, being the Europeans, the people out of Portugal, the Denmarks, out of Britain and some of the other countries, when they did it, they added the hatefulness, the degradation, the killings that they instilled upon not just black people, because we weren't the first that they enslaved. They when they conquered different parts, they did the Indians that were the natives of the land, and then they did the Chinese, and then they did the blacks. And how about this one? Part of the reason why they went to Africa and do the blacks is because how talented we were. They didn't know nothing about how to grow rice, how to grow indigo, how to use the plants for food-based products, how to do the sugar for the sugar cane. It was black people that knew that. So they tapped us for our knowledge. It's no question. And it was black people who were able to, because of the strength that we had, to survive the elements that they put us under. It's long been said that when they came to America and they tried to enslave the Indians just said that we quit. They didn't fight. It did not work well with the Indians. But the black people were able to survive and still do, no matter what they throw at us, even to today. That's what I want y'all to get out of this. And I want to hear other people's feedback on this slant. Why are they so embarrassed to teach Black history in some of those states? They talk about because it makes them feel bad. You should feel bad. This is what your ancestors did. And now you feel bad about it? Let's talk about it. We can't blame you. But if little Joey and little Susie knows of some of the things that has happened, maybe they'll think differently. Maybe they'll have a deeper appreciation for Black people. Maybe want to help Black people more. You see a guy sitting out and he's, in a desperate way, living on the streets and stuff like that, and you walk past him, don't show no compassion. You talk about it, and you've done things for that to be his plight, and you have no compassion, and you worry about us knowing our history. That don't make sense. That doesn't jive. How could that be? You feel bad. We feel bad. I'll give you a story. One, I interviewed a lady on my show who she integrated the school in Florida, in Jacksonville, Florida. And the story goes is that her dad was president of the NAACP, and desegregation was the law of the land. Brown versus Board of Education in 1954. This is about 1965, so on and so forth. And in Jacksonville, they still had separate schools. Black schools that in many respects were inferior to the white schools. Well, her father says, hey, I've had enough. We want to make this thing equal. We're not getting the best education, giving the less resources, things of that sort. And so they went to court. They won. Now he has to find some students. And he knocked on doors throughout the whole community. Out of, let's say, 500, 600, so-odd families, he found two young people that had agreed to do it. When I say young, they were in either their freshman, sophomore, or junior year. And no one that was a senior, except for his daughter. She said, I'll do it. So his daughter in the senior year decides to, go to this white institution. She says every day they did all that they could to get her to quit the school. I mean, put roaches in her chair, tacks in her seat, spit at her, called her the N-word every day almost. She said she had to She could only go to the bathroom during classroom time. She couldn't go in, in between the change of the classroom. Because then she thought she could get beat up. Well, she did all this. Well, here's part of the story. One day, her dad drops her off in the morning, and she, as usual, school started at 8. He drops her off at 7:30, 7:45. Everybody stands out in front of the school building and the main door and things of that sort. And these white classmates, these guys, they jump on her and they beat her up. It's like 4 or 5 of them, she said. And in front of the school, not in the back, but in front, with no fear of retaliation toward them. Well, they beat her up. She ends up walking into the principal's office in the school, bloody, clothes torn, so on and so forth, to report what had happened. And the principal, white guy, his response is, "Hey, I don't even believe it. I don't think it happened here at the school." Just coming up with something. And with the hate in his heart, said to her, the senior, the 17-year-old girl who just got beat up, "I'm not going to let you use my telephone. I don't care what you do, and you should go to class." Well, she stumbles out the school building. She goes across the street. She uses the public telephone. She calls her dad. He comes to pick her up. She tells him what has happened. I'm sure being, the sign of the times, not I'm gonna go retaliate against the students or anything like that. But I guess our best reaction is for you not to go to school. You faced all this hatred, for the months prior to now. Maybe we need to figure out a better way. And the other students didn't face it because they weren't seniors. And I guess they kind of got a little pass. But her senior class, as she tells the story, some of the other students said, "You just not going to be in our year. You will not walk across the stage with us." Well, and I got to admit to you, this made me cry. Hearing her story, it made me cry. I felt bad for her. I apologized on behalf of whatever I could for her, to her, because it was a really heartfelt story. But what happened was she decided to go back. So why not tell that story? That's going to make them feel bad? Y'all did it. Did you feel bad when you were doing it? But now you do. So you don't want no one to know what you did. We're going to talk about it here on the show. We're going to make them feel bad. We're going to make them feel okay because we're going to tell some stories of how white folks help black people too. You got to tell that part of it. Slavery did not end because black people said so. Abraham Lincoln did not get this epiphany and his moralistic judgment to say, "Oh, this is so wrong." Frederick Douglass got it in his head. That's well documented. Frederick Douglass even suggested to him highly, recommended so and so, "You want to end the war, let the black guys fight." And I'm sure he had to think twice about that because you put a gun into the black guy's head and there's 2 white guys sitting there, he might say, "I don't know who to shoot at. I'm shooting at both of them, depending upon, based on what my ancestors have gone. But none of that, excuse me for that, it happened because really what happened is Abraham Lincoln just didn't want the country to be divided. It wasn't based on that. We're not going to have 2 Americas on the same land. And so that was really the start of the Civil War. Slavery did not end in Juneteenth. We're going to talk about that. There were states such as Delaware that did not take it off the books until 20,000, 2000. It was the 13th Amendment, which was 3-4 months later after Juneteenth. signing that in that January. It was ratified in December, and then January went into effect. That actually said in the Constitution that all black people should be free. Those kind of little known stories. I'm gonna do my best to give you the best that I know of them here on the show. But we're gonna have some other people that I'm sure will join us that will be able to chime in. Tell people about this. Let this thing flow. Don't come on here rolling no joint though. That's not a good look. It's not funny. I don't know what you get out of that. It doesn't make you look good. It makes you look like you're crying for help. You want to know more. Maybe you don't know no better. But come on this show, when this is to talk about something positive, I hope the brother comes back. Because in this venue, I hope that I'm able to get to him and some of his buddies that think that smoking weed is the way to, I don't know, alleviate the pain that you go through, to make you think faster. It was funny. My son, when he was in high school, he played basketball. And his buddies used to tell him, say, hey, man, if you smoke weed, you'll play better. So he asked me, I mean, I'm a cool dad like that. He asked me, said, is that really the case? I said, well, I tell you the truth, it'll probably lighten your mind for a minute, but then it's going to slow you down. It's going to make you groggy. You're going to be on the basketball court, want to eat munchies. You can't play well. It takes away your energy. So I can't tell you don't do it. I mean, ain't gonna give you no whooping or anything. Being who you make your own decision, I'm gonna just give you both sides of the coin. That's what we're gonna do here on the show. I give you both sides of the coin. Tell you what they said, and then we're gonna tell you maybe what's incorrect about that way of thinking. They didn't. When they went to Africa, they didn't save black people. We were doing fine. They talk about the tribes fighting against it. Shit, Europeans was fighting each other. If you ever go to London and see those castles where they used to behead their fellow people, that's all London is based on. Yeah, not all, but yeah, you go to those castles, you see the swords, you see those movies where they're fighting among themselves, Ben-Hur and so on and so forth. You see the weaponry that they use. You get hit with one of them steel balls, you are through. They didn't have guns, so it's hand-to-hand combat. I hate you that much. I must cut you with a sword. Hand-to-hand combat. Forget about you have family back home and wife and kids and things of that sort, people that are dependent on you. I want to take over your land. So come on here and fight in the middle of the ground, and we're going to see who outlasts each other. That's some barbaric stuff. Black people wasn't killing each other like that. But you want to say, hey, there were tribes taking over one another. Yeah, I can't say you're wrong about that. But I'm sure that when we took you over, we didn't kill you with no metal chain. What we probably did at best was, if we did kill you, that the least of it. But at the other part is we captured you and as some of them said, made you work for us. I don't know how inhumane that process was. But we'll talk about it. You're talking about barbaric. They didn't save us from each other. They didn't save those people who in Egypt developed religion, developed science, developed astronomy, developed civilizations. They didn't need saving from one another. We're the first to come up with all that stuff. Oh, but they tell you, no, man, if it wasn't for us, they don't know, they'd be savages. No, it wasn't savages. It's hot outside. We don't need no shirt on. It's 110 degrees year round. We're living in a desert. We have found a way to survive the desert, how to get water out of the ground, how to make buildings out of the materials that are around us, and to make it cool. How about this one? Those pyramids, they can't figure out how they made them. All these years later, they said the stones are measured so precisely that it's incredible. And I interviewed a guy on the show. He talks about how they're slanted the way they are because it's the sunlight that illuminates. They didn't have street lights, as you can imagine. So it's the sunlight that illuminates the little villages. You get it slanted like that, the light reflects down as it gets darker, and it brings on a light factor from the moon. And then the materials that they use, the type of sand that they put on those pyramids, man, that's ingenious. We didn't need you to save us. And how about this? And we were sailing long before they were. We didn't have to go to America. We had everything we wanted right here in Africa. Africa got all the minerals. It's got all the foods and vegetables, all of the resources, the water. They didn't need to go any further than that. And as time went on, it became apparent that maybe the world is not flat. So some of those European settlers took the chance and said, let's go out and see what's there. But as you know, almost every place that they weren't the first ones. The other civilizations, the Indians and the Incas and so on and so forth, they landed in those Caribbean islands. They were there. Even here in America, they call them Indians, coming out of India. We're gonna talk all about that. I want you to think differently. I really do. This is why I did the documentary, so you can watch it and think something about it, who we are as people. This is why I wrote that book. This is why I host that show. This is why I have this live show. I'm gonna have more. We're gonna have, like I said, if I didn't say it earlier, we're gonna do some live shows with some school administrators so that they can talk about, hey, what's the best way to teach Black history? Because see, once you know the history, you know the standard that has been set. And that's the catch. If I knew that I started out here and not down here by what they tried to teach me, then I know that this is from where I come. I need to go from here up higher. I don't need to think of myself no less than that. And you shouldn't think of yourself. But hey, they've done all they could to pit us against each other. You go to a restaurant today and something's wrong with it. Let's say the service is not so up to par. Oh man, that's a Black-owned restaurant. I know I ain't going back there. Have that ever happened at a white-owned restaurant? It has to me. But I don't know if I walked out of there saying, "Oh man, I'm not going back there." I just figure, hey, they had a bad day. What about the brother? What about the employees didn't show up? They don't respect him like they do the white guy who owns a white restaurant. He's doing all he can to give him a chance, so on and so forth. Hey, oh man, I come in when I want to. I don't know if that's always the case, but you can imagine that's some of the scenario. But I ain't going back there. I had a buddy tell me that today. He said the service was slow, the food didn't come for a while. Instead of saying what happened, why was it such that way? I ain't going back there. So I ain't going back there. I hope he go out of business. I hope he don't be able to make that for his family. That's the attitude. Instead of going in there and saying, "Hey man, I came here once before, it didn't go so well. I'm back again." But let me tell you what my experience was. If he's open to hearing it, because I'm here to support you. I'm not giving up on you. Why we give up on each other so fast? What's that about? Because if we give up on each other, then who do we have? Who do you turn to? That's something to think about. I'm not going to do that with the black guy. I'm not doing that. I'm going to the white guy. Man, I go to black people as often as I can. Let me tell you something that really one of the things that happens. A lot of times I go and, try the best to meet the owner, get to know him and that kind of thing. And then I come back maybe sometime later. And I used to do this when my kids were younger. My kids are selling popcorn. Could you get a box? Oh, yeah, man, you've been in my store. You've been supporting me. Now I take a barrel of that popcorn. Man, my church is having this fish fry, man. Can you get a couple tickets? Yeah, man, I know you, man. Come on, man. I take 4 tickets. I eat fish anyway. It's from a church. My organization is having a raffle. Man, can you get a couple tickets? He said, yeah, man, I get a couple tickets. You know me. I might not have that same kind of allegiance. Not saying he doesn't do it at all. And a lot of times when they do it, they doing it. That may be some out of their heart, but some out of they can see the big picture. I don't want to upset you. You've been supporting me. Ain't nothing for me to give you $5 for your raffle ticket. It's got to change the mindset, and that's what I hope that we accomplish here on this show. Look at the videos. It's like I said, it's over 500 of them. You can go, just go to home. When you go to Strong Inspirations, click on the link. You see it pop up, and then go to video and just scroll down. They're about an hour long. It's YouTube too. You can move the cursor where you want to move it. That's no problem. You can cut me out. Get this stuff. How about this? The book I only charged $10. It was 15 with the freight and everything. $15 to get this book. Get the 200 facts. And it does talk about what races did to hurt one another, to hurt us. They're doing it a long time. That's what's going on today. This is nothing new. That project 225 or 2025 or 25. Why I need to read that? I know what they write. I know what they're thinking. They've been thinking it since the day one. I don't know. I really, I think the thing that gets me is I don't know what they want us to. Back in those days, they, mistreat us and tell us you got to eat at the restaurant. You come in the back door. You can't sit there with us. You got to give us your money. We're gonna give you inferior food, not make it so tasty, treat you bad, call your names, so on and so forth. So when we want you to take that, you come in this restaurant. We want you to take that when you get on this. All right. So they do those things to you. And then you say, man, I've had enough, man. I've been going through that for the last 8, 9, 10 years, whatever it is. My parents went through it. I don't want to do that. So I tell you what, I'm going to start my own restaurant and treat my people as best I possibly can. We ain't got to come in your place. We don't have to come in your movie theater and you make us sit in the balcony where we can hardly see the screen. Tell us we got to be quiet, can't watch the film, so on and so forth. And again, I'm going back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, maybe 70s in some places, so on and so forth. So, okay, this is what we're going to do to you. Some of us said, man, we're going to start our own. All right, so you start your own, and all of a sudden they begin to say, oh, my God, now they not coming in here no more. So we're not getting their money. So then they get mad at us. You talking about Black history and making them feel bad. Dang, how does that make somebody feel? And they get mad at us and then do some things to hurt us. And the big thing that you've heard about, I'm sure most of you who watch this, is what happened in Tulsa. Black people weren't doing nothing to them white folks. We had our own. We ain't need to. Well, I'm sure in some respect, we just say, hey, man, I can't buy my own lumber. I don't have a lumber yard. I need to buy it from you. I don't make salt and peppers and stuff like that or whatever I need to cook the food in my restaurant. I don't have the hogs and stuff like that. I need to get it from your wholesale. Can I buy it from your wholesale? Give me a decent price, and I'll buy it from you. I'll go back on the other side of the tracks. I don't come over here, but to buy. I even got my own schools. I got my own churches. I don't even have to come over here. You can have this, and then you making me pay taxes. So can you give me a little bit more what I get for my tax money? Like, can you pick up the garbage? Can you have the bus run over here on time? Because I am paying. Can I get a little bit of my money for the educational resources that I'm putting into that you making inferior for me? There was a guy, I'm switching gears just a second, sideline. He said, man, when they were growing up, they used to have to go to the white school to pick up the books from them that the white kids had already read and wrote over and tore out pages, wrote nasty words in the books. He said, these are the books that we used in our black school. So you tell me, hey, man, I can't come in your places. All right. I got to figure out a way because there's some smart people among us. We're going to get our own. We're going to get our own toss. And they had tosses all over America, even here in Detroit. Well, it was coined Black Bottom, but there were other districts, West Side, Coney Gardens, and stuff like that. They were majority Black. We get our own thing. We put our own churches and stuff like that, on what we can do to become self-sufficient. Man, they got mad at us for that because they wouldn't, we didn't spend the money with them. That's what that bus boycott was. That's what the bus boycott. We said we ain't riding the bus, man. We ain't sitting in the back of the bus. And I always wondered, why did they want us to sit in the back? You know why? Because that's where the engine is. It was hot back there. You in Birmingham, Alabama, riding the bus, and you sitting next to the engine, kicking out them hot fumes and stuff. All because the white lady don't want to sit next to you. Ma'am, you can sit there. I won't even touch you. Don't scoot next to me. Or how about this? Let me and my buddy, black guy, black lady, let us sit in that row together and we ain't got to touch you. Now, that ain't good enough. That's not good enough. You got to sit in the, and what was crazy about it, to get in the back of the bus, you had to walk out the bus, not just back down the aisle. You had to walk out the bus, come in through the back door. You're sitting in the back of the bus. It's like crazy. We're going to talk about all that. Come on, everybody. Tell somebody about us. Every Monday, this is our very first one. It's August 5th. We'll be here August 12th, August 19th, and August 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Zoom link is on the website. My website is businessintheblack.net. You can order my book on the website. Come on, do that so that you can know what we're talking about when we talk about it. You can see all my speaking engagements. I'm going across the country. I'm sharing what I like to call good Black history. We got 4 minutes left. This is my way. I feel better doing this. There was a guy that came on tonight. He looked like a young brother. He's sitting there rolling the joint. I feel good that he know how to get on Zoom. He saw this somewhere. Thought he was making a joke or something like that. But he's at least that astute that he saw that we're doing this. And I hope you see it again. He comes back next month. Leave the joint to the side. Come back with your mind open and clear. Ready to learn something. Ready to be a better person. Because we need some young brothers to step up. There's no question. Sisters is killing them. It's 8-1 in them HBCUs. My daughter went to Howard. She said, Dad, it's 8-1 out in the corporate world and so on and so forth. We need the family to continue to grow. We need Black men to step up. First, let's learn about who we are, the greatness that's in us, the kings and the queens that we are, how we need to treat people better. They told you we were savages, so some of us might want to act that way. That makes no sense to me. Jail is no fun. I've never been there. I've only been in because I spoke there once. And when that door shut behind me, I was like, oh my God. When that door shut behind me, my heart trembled. And I knew I was on my way out an hour and a half later after I made my presentation. That cannot be any fun. It's not a safe haven. Then they go in there and we want rights. I'm sure you do, and you deserve some rights. I'm not disagreeing with that. Some people made bad decisions, but come on out here, make something for yourself. We need more brothers to step up for sure. Learn your history. Know how great you are, the great kings and queens that you come from. There is a direct line. I know I got some royalty, some kind of family in Africa because I'm a Black guy. White guy got with my great-great-grandmother, though. I know that happened. Wouldn't be light-skinned without it. Only reason why is complexion. Still Black, and I know hair get nappy when I let it grow long. Nose maybe a little bit bigger. For breathing. I breathe real well. Had allergies when I was a kid. Pollen used to get up in my nose. I used to scratch my eyes when I would have those sneezing attacks. Black man. Step up, brothers and sisters. Know this history. And I'll end every one of my broadcasts with this term. Strong is my favorite word. I love the word strong. And in my world, strong stands for strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace. And with that, I'm signing off. Thank you. Come back, see me next Monday, August 12th, 7 p.m., right here, same Zoom on Strong Inspirations. Stay strong, people. Thank you.